Cynthia's husband Henry had passed away suddenly, leaving her and their two young children, Favor and Dan, in a state of grief and uncertainty. Henry had been a hard-working man, but life had brought them many challenges. Their home was very beautiful, the house they lived in and the car was given to him by his company. Henry was well loved in the community. He was known for being kind and generous, always willing to help a neighbor in need despite his own financial struggles. He worked as a manager at a company, a job that came with the company car and house they lived in. However, Henry's earnings were often insufficient to meet the needs of his growing family. Unknown to many, he had taken a huge loan from the bank to cover various expenses and was also behind on the children's school fees. Cynthia was a strong woman. She had always supported Henry and managed their home with grace and love. When Henry passed away, she was heartbroken but determined to carry on for the sake of her children. She knew they had to face a difficult future, but she was resolved to keep her family together and secure a better life for Favor and Dan. Soon after Henry's funeral, his older brother, Peter, came to Cynthia's house with a stern face and a list of demands. Peter is a businessman in a neighboring city. He claimed that, according to tradition, everything Henry had owned now belonged to him, because he is the eldest surviving male in the family. He demanded the keys to the house and the car, intending to take possession of everything. Cynthia listened quietly, her heart pounding. She knew that Henry had not owned much and had kept his financial struggles private. What Peter didn't know was that Henry had died with a huge debt. He owed the bank a huge loan, the school fees for the children were overdue, and the house and car technically belonged to his company, not him. Despite Peter's aggressive behavior, Cynthia remained calm and composed. She didn't argue or fight. Instead, she agreed to go to court to settle the matter legally. Peter was pleased, thinking that all of his threats had brought her into submission. On the day of the court hearing, Peter stood confidently before the judge, eager to claim his brother's possessions. Cynthia stood quietly beside him, her eyes lowered, appearing submissive. The judge listened to Peter's demands and then addressed Cynthia, asking if she had anything to say. Cynthia simply replied that she would follow whatever decision the court made. The judge then turned to Peter. "You claim that everything your deceased brother owned should now be yours. Is that correct?" Peter said yes firmly. The judge handed him a document. "Sign here to confirm that you accept all of your brother's possessions as your own." Peter, without hesitation, signed the paper with a smile. He looked at Cynthia, a devilish smile on his face. The judge then turned to Cynthia and asked her to confirm her agreement. Cynthia nodded silently. The judge picked up another set of papers and looked at Peter. "As you have now legally inherited all of your brother's possessions, you also inherit his debts and obligations." Peter's face changed, he was shocked. "What debts?" he stammered. The judge explained, "Your brother owed the bank 10 million naira. He also owed the school significant fees for his children's education. Furthermore, the house and car you wish to claim belong to his company and have already been reclaimed by them." Peter's victory turned to horror. He realized that by signing the document, he had legally agreed to take on all of Henry's debts. The court required him to pay the 10 million naira to the bank and settle the school fees for the children. Despite his protest, the law was clear. Peter was forced to sell his own properties and drain his savings to cover the debts. His bitterness grew as he handed over the money to clear his brother's obligations. Cynthia, on the other hand, felt a tremendous weight lift from her shoulders. The debts that had been haunting her family were now cleared. She could focus on rebuilding her life and ensuring her children's education. As Peter left the court, he vowed never to have anything to do with Cynthia and her children again. The bitterness of his loss was too great, and he could not forgive them for what he saw as a betrayal. Cynthia and her children returned home, grateful for the unexpected turn of events. Though they had lost their home and car, they were free from debt and could start anew. With the children's school fees paid, they could continue their education, and Cynthia could look towards the future with hope. The community, hearing of the judge's decision, rallied around Cynthia and her children. They helped them find a small house and provided support for her to start a small business to sustain her family. Cynthia's strength inspired those around her, and she became a beacon of hope for others facing similar struggles. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Cynthia's small business, a modest shop selling traditional fabrics and handmade crafts, began to flourish. She had always been talented with her hands, creating beautiful patterns and designs that quickly caught the eye of the local community. With the help of friends and neighbors, she expanded her business and even began taking custom orders. Favor and Dan settled back into school. They missed their father dearly, but they found comfort in the stories their mother would tell them about their father's kindness and hard work. These stories became a source of inspiration for the children, driving them to excel in their studies and help their mother whenever they could. One evening, as Cynthia closed her shop, she received a visit from an old friend of Henry's, a man named Solomon. He had heard about the family's situation and wanted to offer his support. Solomon had been a close colleague of Henry's at the manufacturing company, and he had always admired Henry's dedication and integrity. "Cynthia, I've been thinking about how I can help," Solomon said, sitting down in the small living room of their new home. "Henry was a good man, and I want to honor his memory. I've spoken to some people at the company. They gave me this money for you, and they have provided a scholarship for Favor and Dan to cover their school fees for the next few years." Tears welled up in Cynthia's eyes. "Solomon, I don't know how to thank you. This is such a blessing for us." Solomon smiled warmly. "Henry would have done the same for my family. Consider it a small repayment for all the kindness he showed us." Peter returned humbled and seeking forgiveness. Cynthia and her children welcomed him, embracing the value of family and forgiveness. Peter offered his business expertise to help expand Cynthia's enterprise, turning their story of loss and hardship into one of redemption and unity. The end. Please like this video and subscribe to my channel for more interesting videos.